Now you say you want to know more about me, I'd caution you with that because things can get a little eccentric. Now I think some of these things you probably will identify with, and some of these things will leave you asking, what the? On my way to the hotel, I'm immediately looking up the restaurants, the bars, and the lounges. And I'm looking at what they look like. I'm looking at their menus. I'm even kind of pre-planning what I might order for dinner or whenever I go. Not only that, if it's a larger hotel or a resort like somewhere in Vegas or an all-inclusive in Cancun, Punta Cana, I'm going to rank the restaurants. So if there's 6 of them, 8 of them, 10 of them, I'm going to rank the ones I absolutely want to go to, usually 1 through 3 or 1 through 4, because I'm usually at a hotel for 3 or 4 nights. Another thing I do is I like to get to the hotel as early as possible. I'll get to a hotel at 10, 11, 11:30 a.m. I would much rather arrive early than during prime time check-in. If I get there early, not too many people are showing up at 10, 10:30, 11. That way when the first room opens up, I'm likely to get it. At an all-inclusive hotel, if you show up at 10:30 or 11, they're gonna give you access to the resort for that day. So it's almost like getting a free day. We can hang out at the pool or go to some restaurants. So I'd much rather show up at 10 or 11 or even noon and get the first room than show up at primetime check-in, wait in line, and possibly even have to wait until check-in time or even later, you know, like 3, even 4, 5 o'clock to get my room. When I finally reach the hotel, I pay really close attention to the initial experience, especially if it's my first time at the hotel. That really sets the tone, either consciously or subconsciously, for how the visit's going to get. Of course, it's always about the fundamentals, the beach, the pool, the restaurants, the drinks, the experience, but consciously or subconsciously, it's that first encounter that really influences a lot of your stay. And that's why a lot of these hotels make their lobby the most opulent, luxurious, and grandest thing. Rarely does any hotel have the rooms be better than their lobby, but almost every hotel is gonna have the lobby be just as good, if not markedly and notably better than the rooms, because it sets the tone, it sets the first impression. It's kind of like psychological gymnastics. Here's where things get a little weird. So when I get to the room, I kind of do this in order, and the sequence is probably gonna sound a little eccentric, but as soon as I get to the room, I open up the door, and I just kind of take in the room. I kind of let the room speak to me. I'm just kind of looking around and seeing how the room feels. So I will enter the room and I'm still kind of taking it all in, but one thing I'll do is I'll put my luggage in the most isolated, obscure, kind of most distant place in the room, usually like in a corner or away from everything else, because I don't want my personal items to kind of throw off my take or kind of the energy of the room. I don't want to see that luggage front and center. I want to focus mainly on the room. And one trick I use is just to put my luggage in a very isolated, kind of obscure corner. After I put my luggage away, what I will do is I will flop on the bed, and I will jump on the bed for a couple reasons. Number one, I am very curious what it's gonna be like. It's going to directly influence my sleep quality and perhaps indirectly my mood, so I immediately wanna jump on it to know what I'm dealing with. And I also use it as a chance to reset, just a chance to recalibrate. I'm either coming off a long flight or a hotel stay before that, or 3 hotel stays before that, and I need a few seconds to kind of just reset and recalibrate my mind. And I'll just try to go as zen as possible. I'll just try to completely empty my head. If it's a long flight, I'll try to forget about it. If I had a great hotel stay beforehand, I'm gonna forget about it. If I had a horrible hotel stay beforehand, I'm gonna try to get that out of my mind. I just wanna reset, let my mind go numb, and take this new hotel experience for what it is. But I'm not gonna be on the bed for very long. Usually it's 15, 30, maybe 60 seconds. Any longer and I'm going to fall asleep. And that's the last thing I wanna do, because I usually either have to film the room or give an entire room tour. And that usually takes an hour, 2, or maybe 3. So a nap right when I get to the room is almost impossible. It's so counterproductive to my day. If I do take a nap, this is one thing that might shock you, is that I'm not going to sleep on the bed. Now, I may have just flopped on the bed for 15, 30, 60 seconds, but I'm certainly not gonna sleep on it. I don't wanna disturb like the sheets. The sheets are usually perfectly done by housekeeping. I can't recreate that, so I'm not gonna mess them up. So what I will do, if I must take a nap, if I'm just dead tired from the trip before or from the flight, I will actually sleep on a sofa if there is one. If there is no sofa, what I will do is look in the closet for some bedding. And if there is bedding there, what I will do is usually sleep on the floor for a nap. Another thing I don't do is I don't unpack my suitcases. I never do it. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, I'm always on the move. So in 3 or 4 days, I'm gonna have to repack the suitcases anyway. I like living out of the suitcases, taking out as little as possible. That way I'm not wasting time or effort when I have to put stuff back in. Also, I'm only at the hotel usually for 3, 4, maybe 5 nights. And I don't have the luxury of being there for a week or sometimes 2 weeks where people can unpack their clothes, put them in a closet, put them in a chest of drawers, put them wherever. And I will hang up my nice jackets or my sport coats or some shirts, but in terms of taking every little piece out and then putting it in a closet or putting it in some drawers, never happening. I don't have that time, and also I'm a little nervous about leaving something behind. Another thing that might surprise you is that I'm not looking for faults. I'm typically a pretty positive traveler, unless I'm paying for a perfect experience, like at a Four Seasons or a St. Regis or maybe even a Ritz-Carlton. I'm not looking for faults. I'm not one of those white glove people where I'm going up into the vent and looking for stuff, or I'm going into real small crevices and have really obscure parts of the room where I'm looking for things that are wrong. If nothing jumps out at me, then nothing is really technically wrong. Now, if I'm in the room for 2, 3, 4 days initially or at the end and I notice something, then of course it's wrong because I've noticed it. But I'm not going out of my way to nitpick things. I'm typically a big picture person. If the shower takes a long time to warm up, or if there's really low water pressure, or if there aren't enough waste baskets, or maybe there isn't a do not disturb sign, I don't get all bent out of whack. I'm not focusing on really finicky, small, obscure problems. Another thing that I do when I immediately get to the room is check the internet speed. Now, I am always concerned what the internet speed is in the room. I could really care less what it is in the lobby or by the pool. Of course, that can be important, but for me, I'm not getting any work done in the lobby or by the pool. And anyone that's actually ever tried to get serious work done while you're at a resort knows how difficult it is to get work done at the beach or the pool or in a lobby. If it is really slow, then I think of an alternative. Either I try to go to a part of the hotel where it's good, at least try to get my core work done, or I will just try to batch my work, hopefully, for the next hotel. And then finally, this one is probably gonna be really surprising to you, especially looking at the nature of my videos, and that is, I really don't make big plans or a lot of plans or hard plans at all. My plans are very, very loose. I'll have basically one thing I want to do during the day and then one thing I want to do at night. Some of my best experiences in travel, in fact, easily my best experiences, have come unplanned, where they just happen. And that could be where I get invited to a pool party or just happen to stumble across a restaurant or meet a really interesting person, or just happen to advance my night in a different way than I planned originally. Sometimes having no plan is the best plan overall. I think when you get too rigid, you don't open yourself up for availability. And if something does come up, you aren't tethered to your meticulous schedule or maybe what you have to do later in the day or tomorrow. So for me, when I have one thing to do during the day and one thing to do during the night, I'm really open, I'm really flexible. If anything happens, I can either extend my day easily or extend my night easily. I'm always on the lookout for something new, fresh, fun, amazing, life-changing, just the best moments and experience possible. And one way to achieve that, a big way, is to keep your schedule as open as possible.